Second by Bender. All in favor? Aye. 2 absent at 7 o'clock. Action determined in closed session. The student expulsion hearing 15-18-19. Action for violation of California Ed Code 48900K. The board decision was to expel the student from all schools and programs of the district. Do I hear a motion?
Motion approved.
Second?
Second.
Robinson, all in favor? Aye. 2 absent at 7:01. The recording of this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as public record. Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Mesa.
Please stand.
Carol Robinson, Jim Bender, Mario's absent, and Linda Brandt is absent. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Second by Robinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Do you want to? Do you have any comments?
No, we don't.
Reports and communications. Roseman High School, Mr. Riley, California Cadet Park.
Good evening. At the last board meeting, when the presentation was made for California cadets, you had requested us to survey some students and get some feedback from the students. So I have a couple students here tonight that have taken the initiative to not only survey the high school, but Mr. Adams surveyed the middle school students, and they're going to present some of the results from those surveys. So I have Aubrey Gomez and Alex Radine here to share some of the results of those surveys.
Hello. I don't even need this, do I? So what we did directly after that was create paper in which we got signatures, and overall at the high school we got 212 signatures. And she produced a survey. Would you like to give the results?
So I created a survey with Ms. Reader, an online survey with Google Forms, and it went to the 9th, 10th, and 11th graders at our high school. And I'll tell you the results. Sorry. 75 students answered, and 52% of them said yes, and 48% of them were not interested. And then we also forwarded that to Mr. Adams, and he created the paper survey and handed them out to all the students. And sorry, I forgot all the information at home, so I had to remember. For the 6th and 7th graders, 68 of them said yes, 139 of them were not interested. And then for the 8th graders, 39 of them said yes, and 85 of them were not interested. And that's what we got.
So just to share some of the comments from that I read from the 8th graders, the majority that were interested, over half of them were interested because of the leadership, the citizenship, and the discipline that our ROTC or that kind of program can bring to them. Out of the ones that did respond, 5 or 6 were interested in ROTC or the program because they were planning on going into the military after high school. So there was one student who was interested because he said if he didn't say yes, his mom would kill him. But other than that, and then there were a few that wanted it because they didn't want to do PE. But the majority of the ones that were interested and responded with a comment, it was because of the discipline, the citizenship, the responsibility that the program teaches. So.
What was it? How was this presented? Would you like this program, or how was it worded?
For the survey at the high school on the papers and the signatures, I worded it, would you like to see this program strive in our high school? And then for the survey online, this survey is being conducted in order to determine the SKUSD student interest level in bringing in the California Cadet Corps program RHS for the 2019 to 2020 school year due to the loss of AFT ROTC program. As potential RHS 2019 through 2020 student at RHS, would you be interested? That was how it was presented.
the rest of it.
Yeah, thank you.
She picked up the interest surveys from Tropical yesterday, and I did read a couple of the ones that said no. And it seemed like these students didn't have any real idea of what the program was about. One of them said, I don't, like in reference to marksmanship, they didn't want to touch a gun because they were afraid that they would hurt somebody. And another one frankly said, I'm just too lazy. So I just don't think that they had enough information about what the program is, at least at the middle school level.
I think once they see it go in, they'll be more interested.
And your name?
Oh, I'm Kim Gomez. Kim Gomez, yes.
Or communications. Ms. Robinson?
I'm so glad graduations are over. They were, I had just had surgery and they were very tiring for me. So I spent this whole week recuperating. But I'm glad to be back at here, and I'm glad to see people still here. Thank you for coming.
Thank everybody that's here tonight for coming, taking time out of your day to come. It seems like our days are getting shorter and shorter to make time to do something that affects our community. It's a good honor to see you here, taking interest in our schools. We've had a rough 6 months. It's been a roller coaster. We've had a lot of good people leave our district. I wish they wouldn't have left. We had problems, but I believe we're on a road that's going up. And I always said from the very beginning, I want to make our schools great again. And that's what I really want to do. I want people to be proud of Roseman schools, every single one of them, every one we have. I want our employees, our teachers, all our staff be proud of where they work and what they do. That's what I really like to do. And that's what I'm pushing forward. Thank you guys again for coming.
And I just want to say thank you all for coming as well. I really enjoyed the promotions at Roosevelt Elementary and at West Park. They were really, really well organized, and I enjoyed that. I especially like Tropical Middle School because Mr. Coleman does a reading of names, and he does an excellent job in the names. I mean, that was really impressive. He just rolls that tongue when he has to and pronounce the surnames the way he needs to. This is really good. And also for Mr. Riley at the high school, he did an excellent job. Mr. Riley, thank you very much, and I enjoyed the graduation. It's always an honor to see the results and to see the kids all excited and the parents excited about graduation. That's kind of the highlight about being a board member, is to see that and to see the results. And we want to continue doing that, and we hope that this next coming year, school year, we'll have more students graduating. Just want to say thank you. RTA?
Just a few things tonight. Not really an RTA issue necessarily, but just a personal thought. I do see that the California Cadet Corps are action items tonight. I certainly hope the district and the board has done their due diligence in looking thoroughly into these programs. We've had one presentation at a board meeting. I don't know what else has taken place since then. I have gotten some people contacting me that there's conflicting information between what was presented at that meeting and what is in fact, but I haven't gone any further than that. I'm not involved in this whole decision. As long as the district and the board has done its due diligence prior to entering into this program, I think that would have been appropriate, or would be appropriate. I did say at the last meeting that I'm sure, based on it being under the CTE program, that there's a way we can find what the compensation plan would be for any teachers hired to run that program, as long as the district and RTA are communicating and working on that. Somewhat related to that, I'm guessing the board has received a letter from Master Sergeant Taylor regarding the ROTC program. I'm not going to go into the specifics of this letter because it was addressed to the board, although my name was in that letter, so I think it's appropriate that I do make a couple of comments about it. I think a lot of the information being presented in there is true and accurate. I do want to make sure the board understands that RTA was always available to work with the district over providing a compensation program that would have been given the district the ability to advertise the vacant positions at a salary that was above the minimum pay. But we never, the district never contacted RTA as to what that would be. So we didn't have those discussions and weren't involved in that whole process. We were definitely in favor. You heard me at board meetings talking about wanting to keep the ROTC program, and I think we could have had some sort of a compensation program within our current contract that would have made it very attractive to be able to hire replacements for the people who were leaving, and hopefully would have been able to keep Master Sergeant Taylor. But none of that occurred. I just wanted the board to understand RTA was there readily available to make sure we had a compensation package under our current contract that would have been appropriate and fine to use. Also, I got a question from one of our teachers that I thought was very good, and I made a communication to all of the teachers. Our contract, we have a 3-year binding agreement with the district that ends on June 30th. So in a couple more weeks, our contract expires. And we're kind of in a holding pattern still. The ball is in the district's court as to how we're going to proceed from here, and when and if we'll ever be able to enter into negotiations again. But I did reassure the teachers, and I want to make sure the board understands that even though that contract expires, the provisions within that contract continue until such time as they're negotiated to be different in any way. So we will go into the upcoming school year under our current contract, even though it expires in a couple of weeks. So if you have any questions on those things, I'm always available. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. We have a CSEA rep today? No? CBO report.
So we're continuing to work on the water consolidation agreement with RCSD. So we're at the final stages of that, or in terms of kind of at the final draft of that. So I'm hoping to have it on the board agenda next time we meet for approval. And basically what it is saying that the Rosamond High School water system, for consumable water, will be connected to RCSD, but the water that we use for irrigation will still be from our wells. So that's what the consolidation agreement is. And because we're under adjudication through the state, meaning AVAC is in control, basically. We can't drill any new wells, we can't do anything with water. We're being forced to connect to our CST because of the arsenic level in the water. Every year it goes down. The requirement from the state, they push it lower and lower. And it's at the point where we need to spend millions of dollars in filtration systems to get to that point, and it would be impossible. We wouldn't be able to afford that kind of equipment. So that's the purpose of the consolidation agreement. So, we're still negotiating with AV Union High School District for our adult ed program. We have a consortium that runs our adult ed program that kind of manages the funding. We're talking to AV Union to offer more adult ed classes here on our campuses. We're negotiating terms on leases, so they will take over the leases on the buildings of the Ascent Academy. Those are 11 buildings. The leases cost $55,000 a year, and they will absorb that cost. Plus, we'll also include costs of just day-to-day operations like utilities on that. So we're hoping to have something by the end of this month, but if not, it will be in July.
We've got maintenance in that too, right? Maintenance of buildings and upkeep.
That would be the indirect cost, but as far as staffing, they will be responsible for all of that. We will not provide any kind of service other than network connectivity for internet access. Custodial service, they'll clean their own buildings. They'll have their own security.
They'll have their own maintenance crew.
If there's maintenance, we could come to an agreement for charging per incident, but I think it would be part of the lease agreement where we would be responsible for keeping the buildings up to because we're ultimately, the lease is under under the district's name. we will be paying the lease, and the consortium will be reimbursing us for the cost. We're going to enter into a 5-year lease. We already have a lease right now, which are ending. We're going to bring a 5-year lease to buy out the buildings. And the cost to buy out all 11 buildings will be about $330,000. That's over 5 years.
So what about lines and water and utilities and?
That would be part of the flat fee that we charge for the cost of utilities. We want to agree to a number that's fair to everyone. And they're taking a risk. There's no telling what kind of participation they're going to see, if it's going to be worthwhile. So we do have a fledgling adult ed program, but it's not what it can be. And they're just able to offer more. They have more resources to offer to the community, which we're just not able to at the moment. So it'll be a 2-year agreement, just to make sure they have at least 2 years to see if they can get a program up and running. And I'm sure there'll be some things that we didn't think about when we came to an agreement, and we'll work on as the time goes by. And we could always have amendments to our agreement. But we did address the cost of the utilities, and that'll be included in the agreement.
And so the security is included as well, right?
They'll be responsible for it.
They'll provide their own security.
Correct. We did have a conference call today with the company responsible for the landscaping at Roseman Elementary School, or the sod. We had a conference call. Their retention is not being paid because we don't approve of the work that they did in the courtyard area in front of Building E. So we're gonna have them come out, and the problem is we're not on the same page. They don't agree with our findings. We are claiming the grass the sod that they planted is not what they said they planted. They're blaming their supplier. We don't care. We just want it fixed. So they'll be out and they'll take care of it in the summer. Our main concern is any kind of divots or gaps. We really need those taken care of. We don't want anyone getting hurt walking over that. So that should be taken over the summer. That should be taken care of over the summer.
Can you plant grass over the summer?
You can't plant, it's too hot. But we want to fix those areas that are really problem areas. The entire sod won't be pulled out. It will just be those areas that we need fixed. It'll just be a continuous maintenance process of watering and aerating and fertilizing. We'll just have to be on top of that.
Thank you. Mrs. Harkness?
Thank you all for coming. Last week was very exciting with all of the graduations and promotion ceremonies. This week has been unusually quiet with all the people of last week. This week has been very quiet. We do have extended school year going on at both the high school and over here at Sun. And then we have credit recovery going on over at the high school and Rare Earth. I did want to clarify, the questions about ROTC as far as the compensation. So the compensation, they fit onto this teacher salary schedule. A lot of districts offer a stipend along with that compensation. Where our problem led was the fact that RTA has their PERV charge that has not yet been resolved, and so we were unable to negotiate a stipend. And the stipend, because on our salary schedule, there's a list of stipends, but ROTC unfortunately was never one of those stipends. So just to clarify, RTA wasn't exactly out of the loop. We just couldn't, get that going together. We were not in a spot where we could negotiate, but we did have discussions about it. Again, thank you all for coming, and I hope that everyone is getting ready to either take some time off, enjoying their time off. I know I'm certainly getting ready to take some time off. Haven't had vacation in a while, so I'm looking forward to a couple weeks. Going to be heading out to Arizona to watch my boys play baseball, so I'm very excited about that. So thank you all for coming.
Okay,
on the agenda, we have consent items A, B, J. Do you have any questions on that? I have one with the approved job description for the tutor intervention.
So what that is Abraham Lincoln is going to receive about $170,000 for their improvement. And so they were targeted for improvement from the state of California for their graduation rate. And so one of the aspects of that is we're going to offer some tutoring. So, and it's very similar to the Avid tutor job description that we already had. We're just broadening it a little bit.
And that was my second question, just about the salary schedule, if it evened out, who was it compared to, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can somebody explain the teacher induction program to me?
So that, it was formerly the beginning teacher support. So what it is anybody that has a preliminary credential, it's a 2-year program. And so what they do is they're a part of that, they're assigned a
Mentor teacher.
yes, a mentor teacher. So they work with that teacher for the 2 years. And then also, the county is involved in that program. It's very extensive.
Let's see, travel and overtime. F. Yeah. I thought they were paying something. Oh, that's the,
Did you talk about that, Eric?
yeah,
I
that's
can't, I can't hear.
What are the letter F?
Conservation Corps.
The agreement,
Are we paying travel and overtime?
for our employees to go to their training.
In July, they have a training, I think it's like a 4-day training that they go to. So they'll pay for everything. We just have to pay for them
Gets here,
to get there. We'll pay the mileage.
and there's overtime.
Well, if the day goes beyond the contractual, I think it's 6.5 hours.
It's not specified.
Yeah.
If it's something that's reasonably over, if it's, beyond a regular work day, then I think it's reasonable to pay them for that time.
Do I hear motion?
Motion
Second by Robinson, all in favor? Aye. Unanimous. This is approved the MOU between Southern Kern Unified School District and the CSU.
So we negotiated with CSEA. Basically, the MOU says CSEA will take 2 furlough days to pay for 2 positions, attendance code positions. The 2 furlough days will pay for the positions. So it's a neutral MOU. It won't cost the district anymore. This is something that we negotiated over a few months, and they just recently approved it, so we're bringing it to you
And that's paying for the attending clerks at the high school?
for secondary, yeah.
The high school
They'll be
and
6 hours.
6 hours?
They'll be at the middle school.
Just attending clerks?
Correct. They'll be concentrating on attendance, mainly period attendance, kids going in out of class.
And it's not an 8-hour position?
Ideally, I don't know how it'll be structured when they'll come in, but usually the kids they lose track of the attendance between periods after first period. First period, and then really where we're losing them is between the middle of the day when they go to activities and they leave school for whatever purpose. They're having difficulty tracking them. So it's really the main purpose.
So they're escaping somehow through the gates and...
No, what it is when they go to a school activity,
Track meet
like
or
they go to football or whatever, it just gets into the system a little bit quicker.
a motion to approve the MOU between Southern Bergen Unified School District and CSA.
I make a motion, I'm glad we continue to be able to do that.
Second by
Yes.
all in favor?
Right.
Public hearing on the district LCAP plan budget.
Hi, everybody, thanks for coming. I guess I'd like to start by asking, we shared a draft of the LCAP. Does anybody have any questions about the LCAP before we get started? We've spent a lot of time going over the LCAP, so this is going to be, I'm going to keep the presentation short and sweet. So before I get started, does anybody have any?
What I'm going to need to open to it says business open public hearing at 7:27. Your motion, Bender. Second by.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
So no questions or comments?
Not yet.
Anybody?
I want to know for goal 3, how specifically are we engaging families and the community to make it effective educational partnerships? I need to know what the plan is.
Okay, so that's part of the presentation. So let me get to that, and I listed all of the actions for goal 3 in the presentation. So let's wait until we look at those, and then we can address those. Anybody else? Okay, so I want to basically focusing on the big ticket items. So these are the actions for 2019-2020, and these are the actions with larger budgets of over $150,000. Okay, so to review, the goals for the LCAP are goal number 1, to improve academic achievement for all students. Goal number 2, to develop a healthy school climate that supports the social, emotional, and physical needs of all students. And goal number 3, to engage families and community in effective educational partnerships. Okay, so highlights for goal number 1, improve academic achievement for all students. Action number 1 is the H&H Reading Intervention Program, which consists of the Read 180 and System 44 programs. Budget for 2019-2020. I'm sorry. The budget for the Reading Intervention Program is $180,700, and that comes from supplemental concentration and title. Action number 3 is the CTE program. We have 8 pathways at Rosemont High School. The budget is $544,000, and that comes from supplemental and concentration. Action number 4 is the after-school programs, and that's for RES, West Park, and TMS. And the budget is $461,000, and that comes from ACES grant.
Dan, we're in open session right now, right?
Yeah.
Do you want us to ask questions as you're going through these, or wait till the end?
As we go through.
You go back to that one?
Yes.
So how do we determine if the ACES program is having any positive impact?
Well,
Academic, because this is under goal 1.
All the programs.
okay.
With ACES specifically, we have students who are attending ACES.
Yeah. So
Are
we
they
could,
showing any kind of a better improvement in their success than students not at ACES?
So we could, this disaggregate the data in STAR reading and STAR math in our benchmark assessments, we can put them into a group and monitor it that way. We're not currently doing it, but that's how I would do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would think we'd have to do that so we know if it's successful.
One of the problems that I see that we have had in the past is that money's been put into programs like paraeducators or this or that, and we need to know, are these things being effective or are they not? Because if they're not being effective, then we need to do something that is effective. And, you know, it's not for one program or not for another program, but what is working, what's not working, we need to know that.
I mean, ACES is funded out of separate grants and
Right.
programs.
It is grants.
And it is, and it isn't.
But if
it
it's
doesn't-
not
it
working,
doesn't
then let's do
suck money
something
out of the
else.
district budget. I'm just was curious about that because I see what goes on with the ACES program. And I have students that are in the ACES program. I just wonder how we determine its effectiveness.
Not really sure we have been determining its effectiveness, that's what I'm saying.
We've never disaggregated the benchmark assessment data for ACES. Only for the reading intervention program for ACES.
Thank you.
Okay, action number 5, college counseling at Roseman High School. We have 2 counselors. The budget is $186,000 and it comes from supplemental concentration. Action 8, dual enrollment college classes. Roseman High School has a partnership with Antelope Valley College. Budget for this program is $155,000 and that comes from supplemental concentration. Action 10, multiple approaches to inclusion of students with special needs. That's basically the program to mainstream students with disabilities. The budget for the program is $178,000. That comes from supplemental concentration. Action 13, paraeducators. For next year, we'll have 5 we've budgeted for 5 paraeducators at Roseman Elementary. 5 at West Park. The budget is $524,000 and that comes from Title I. Action 20, the laptop refresh. That's 910 laptops for the students at Roseman High School. That's a 3-year lease. So the budget is $125,000 for next year. That will be $125,000 for 3 years. So it's $125 next year and $125 for the following and the subsequent years. And that comes from supplemental concentration. Action number 25, the IT department staffing. There are 6 employees in the IT department. The budget for the staffing of the IT department is $580,000 and that comes from supplemental concentration.
When you say supplemental concentration, is it rather than general fund? Oh, okay.
So that supplemental and concentration, that's based on our unduplicated count.
Could you explain where all the employees are based?
For the IT department?
Mm-hmm.
There's myself and Sean Riley at the district office. There's Ken Dickinson at the high school, Mike Shellman at the middle school, Sean Coleman at West Park, and Gary Jones at Roseman Elementary. Action 27 is Ascend Academy. Ascend Academy will be relocated to the school sites. The budget for Ascend Academy is $850,000 and that comes from supplemental concentration. Action 28, the California Cadet Corps. That's a new program replacing ROTC. The budget for the program is $187,000 and that comes from supplemental concentration.
Is that for 1 teacher or 2 teachers or?
2.
That's an estimate for 2.
Okay, I just was curious.
What our portion of that program is teacher salaries. That's what we pay. And so, and the cadet corps pays all the other expenses. So it depends on where they fall in the chart, the salary schedule.
Okay, so since since it's not currently approved, then we just had to sort of make a guess.
Right.
So that's.
So that's just, it depends on where they are on the schedule when they are hired.
I completely understand that. I just wanted to know if it was for one or how many teachers. So thank you.
Is
Are
the
you
district
interested?
responsible for their health benefits?
Thanks, but no thanks.
They'll be regular teachers, on the regular teacher salary.
And under ROTC, how much did the Air Force pay towards teacher salary, and was the district paying health benefits for the ROTC teachers?
We did pay health benefits,
Which is half a million, is what I understood that the district was responsible for.
I think it was like a 60-40 kind of payment, but then we had to pay for the curriculum and
Right.
other things. The California Cadet Academy pays for the curriculum and uniforms.
The uniforms, the training, and
Of course, the
everything.
district was buying the ROTC sweats and stuff like that, and uniforms.
Okay. All right, moving on to goal number 2. Goal number 2 is to develop a healthy school climate that supports the social, emotional, and physical needs of all students. Action number 1, capturing kids' hearts, which is a system to improve school climate. For faculty, staff, and administration training, the budget is $141,000, and that's being paid for out of the low-performing student block grant. Action number 2, psychologists and therapists. The district is budgeting for 2 psychologists, 1 psychology intern, and 1 therapist. The budget for that is $596,000, and that comes from supplemental and concentration. Sorry. Action number 4, food services. This is to pay for employee salaries and benefits. The budget is $896,000, and that's paid for out of Fund 13. Action number 5, licensed vocational nurses. Budget for next year is for 1 registered nurse and 3 LVNs. Budget is $280,000. That's paid for out of supplemental and concentration and base. Action number 7, extracurricular programs at TMS and RHS. The budget is $245,000, and that's paid for with supplemental and concentration.
Now, is that everything included for the students, taking transportation, all that?
Just cover stipends.
It just covers stipends for the teachers? So that's, did we budget any of that for them, for transportation?
Transportation is in there a little bit later.
Yeah. Okay, action number 7, sorry. Action number 11, campus safety officers. And next year, the budget calls for 5 CSOs at RES, 3 at West Park, 7 at TMS, 3 at RHS, 2 at Rare Earth and Abraham Lincoln. The budget is $729,000, and that comes from supplemental and concentration.
How come there's a discrepancy between the schools as far as both the elementaries one has 5, one has 3?
I don't think that's correct. That's what I just said, Eric.
Currently, the high school has 5, and we were not told we were getting cut anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think that
I
that's.
don't-
So then, okay.
Are some of those out of base?
Um,
Probably the difference in those are coming out of base versus supplemental concentration.
We could look at it in the budget.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure, I mean, I can only 3 at the high school, that's,
Right.
and
You
West
can't
Park
pay-
only 3?
You can't pay for all of them out of supplemental
Okay.
concentration, just because then it makes it look like you're saying that those, that the unduplicated students are the reason that you have to have those,
Oh,
which
okay.
is not what we want to say. So the difference would be that we have to pay for some of those out of the base. So we look at that correctly.
That's also counting after school aid.
School.
Yeah. So I'm just putting it out there. So for each school, TMS, West Park, and RES. Well, so I understand what you're saying too. So basically, the West Park we had two.
Yeah,
Right. So that's not, but so it's also taken into account that too. So.
Mr. Mason, what are you doing that you that way?
When we have 1,000 kids on your school, it's going to require more manpower.
Action number 12, transportation. The district offers free bus service for students. This covers the classified salaries, benefits of the transportation department. The budget is $950,000, and that comes from the department supplemental consultation. Action 13, facilities and operations staff, which is the custodians. This covers classified salaries and benefits. The budget is $1.422 million, and that comes from supplemental consultation. Action 17, I included this because it's a new item. This is a video surveillance system for TMS. It's a new action to improve campus safety. The budget is $20,000 out of supplemental consideration. Okay, moving on to goal number 3, which is to engage families and community in effective educational partnerships. Okay, these will be on one slide. This includes the areas parent portal, data confirmation process. So through data confirmation, parents create an account in Aries so they can log into the Aries parent portal and get information about their students.
What's the percentage of the parent portal?
Well, we had about 1,400 parents log into the portal this past school year. So that's
So how are we reaching parents and teachers?
well, we send out regular communications via Blackboard and constant contact. So this also includes the new mobile app. We had about 350 people download the mobile app so far. We sent out one email regarding the mobile app. We want to wait until the start of next school year to renew our efforts of marketing the mobile app. We want to wait until we have fresh new content for the new year from the departments and from the school sites, and then we'll review our efforts to market the mobile app, which is can be quite engaging. The parents, their accounts are connected to their students. So it works, there's a lot of overlap with the Aries parent portal. They'll get information about their students. They'll get notifications. They'll see calendars, assignments, photos, Twitter.
Wouldn't that be in the newsletter?
Yeah.
On each school site?
Yeah, it's nice. A notification if your child's missing an assignment, you get a notification. If there's an upcoming event, you get a notification. So it's
Is it new or?
yeah,
is it
it's
new?
well, it was new this year. It's a renewal for next year.
Well, just with the Aries per I don't know what our numbers are for how many people logged in and stuff, but I know for us, our teachers use more of their own communication. Flash Dojo, Reminds, GroupMe's, because the parent portal, yes, it gives you the grades and stuff, I'm sure and stuff, but the constant contact, well, which is actually one of the constants, but the contact with the parents and stuff usually takes place with each teacher kind of has a preference. Most of our teachers use Flash Dojo or Remind, but that's where they'll literally during the day just send messages to parents about missing stuff like that. So it's not so much with the parent portal. That's more just the black and white area of it, like just the grades, attendance. But I know for us, it reaches more through the teachers' individual apps that they use.